Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we'll have UK paranormal investigator and explorer Ashley Knibb on for an hour after the World Wide Web of Weird. And it'll probably be a shorter show because we only got him for an hour. He's crossed the pond. You know, it's early in the morning for him. And then we'll probably take phone calls later and see how late we go with that. Don't have a lot of guests scheduled. I do have Katrina Cooper in a couple weeks. I cannot wait to get her back on. But after that, after Ashley and Katrina, I got nobody. So we might have a lot of World Wide Web of Weirds and open lines until I can start getting some more guests booked. I'm looking into it. I'm trying. But, you know, I kind of do like the World Wide Web of Weird nights where you get to extend it. Sometimes there's been a lot of stuff, especially since we didn't do a show last week, and I apologize. But I don't do shows on Easter anymore. And there's always a ton. Like, I have a ton. I have an extra article maybe when I go over about another scientist's death linked to the UFO disclosure and all that. There's a ninth one, too. I mean, people are finding more. We might get into that a little bit after our guest, Ashley Knibb, tonight. But like I said, lots of weird in the World Wide Web of Weird, and we will take your phone calls later in the show. Let's go ahead and get rolling on into it. Welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. As I said before, I'm your host, Jason Bland. Our guest tonight, Ashley Knibb, will be joining us after the World Wide Web of Weird, after our first commercial break. Joining me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing well, thank you. Glad to be back.
Yeah, I like I said,
it's a nice weekend.
Yeah, I stopped doing shows on Easter. I had a couple really bad ones. It's just bad luck. I'm not doing shows on Easter. Spend time with your family. It's Easter. But we will be next week, no guests, but I'll do just open lines, maybe some extra World Wide Web weird stuff, and that might be how it goes for the next month or so until I can get some more guests booked back up. Like I said, in a couple of weeks we'll have Katrina Cooper. I cannot wait to have that. It's been too long since we had her on, and we miss her. So we'll get her back on and take your phone calls in. I'm sure you all call in when she's here. You should. You really should. But we got a lot of weird to get to, so let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I figured we'd start out by eating some crow. Me and Jamie both were talking about this. Yeah, Artemis went and came back. They went and saw. They did the mission. They came back. Of course, now the internet says they faked it all and everything's just a lie. And everybody's black-pilled. I'm not. I think we went. And I'm eating crow because I thought we wouldn't. I really thought for a while there it's going to all just keep getting delayed. But they proved me wrong, and I'm so happy to be wrong about this one. Of course, I'm going to have plenty of people emailing me going, you were right. They never went. It's all fake. For those listening on the Paranormal Soup radio network, or Paranormal Soup radio channel on the Talkstream Live radio net channel. God, I cannot talk tonight. I am exhausted from this week. My kids were in this my wife and kids were involved in this whole play thing, and they're completely exhausted for good reasons. For somehow it's exhausted me. So I'm a little out of it tonight. So I'm glad for probably a shorter show, but I'm going to eat crow on this first one. Like I said, they went, and I'm so happy to be wrong about this one. Now, I like I said, I've seen the internet. I've seen people saying it's green screen. This isn't real. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past NASA to fake things. They've been up to shenanigans before, but I don't think so. I think this was real. What do you think, Jamie?
Well, like we're talking about, until I find out otherwise, I want to believe this is real. And I haven't seen enough to tell me that this might not be real.
Yeah. I mean, NASA does things that makes people question. I saw some stuff that looked like UFO stuff going on that they kind of cut out, I thought was going on in this. And like I said, this is one of the things I'm happy to be wrong about, that they actually did get there and make it, hopefully, right? Because I'm rooting for them. I want the space program to be successful. I want us to get to the moon and put a base in the moon and find the aliens there, right?
Yes. We want America to win and succeed.
Yeah, and I'm one of those people. Yes, I believe we went to the moon before, and I know I have many friends that disagree with me on that. I had somebody help back me up on that day. I was trying to remember a couple weeks ago. I was like, what was that Indian mission where they took pictures of the actual moon landing from Apollo 11?
That's right.
And Craig Wood, thank you for tagging me on that on Facebook or something. I think he did. He tagged me on it or something, posted there. I was like, thank you. I was trying to remember that. I mean, that means the Indians have to be involved in it, was my point a couple weeks ago. Like, how big is the lie got to be? I don't know. There's a lot of big lies. I get it. We've definitely been lied to. There's a reason not to trust your government or media. I get it. So I could be the stupid one, and I could be totally fooled, and they never went to space, and this is a complete show. But I don't believe that. I think we went. Hopefully we'll go to the moon. If the aliens allow it. Sorry. But I don't know. I think we went. I know a lot of people are saying we didn't.
And
right? It's just like Interstellar.
Experiment or thinking the Earth is flat or any of those reasons. Like, I don't believe they can get through the Van Allen belts or blah,
I feel like
blah,
I'm
blah.
Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar when they're like, well, we never need to go to the moon.
Ways
Like,
around
what?
that.
Yeah. All right.
I thought they were just going to keep doing this for like a money grab for a while, like just something to talk about. I didn't think that.
Well, we'll see where they go from here. Like I said, we talked about this. They ixnayed the space station, and now they're going for the whole, which I think is a good idea, and going for the whole lunar station, a station on the surface of the moon. Which I'm like, yes, that's what your focus should be on. Because if you're going to do this on Mars, you need to do it on another planetary body that's not Earth.
I agree.
Yeah, you can only throw Pauly Shore and what's his name, one of the Baldwins, in a biodome and experiment, pretend like you're on another planet.
Yeah,
I love that movie. All right, let's move on. All right, next up. Let's get my articles from here. Of course, we have to talk about this sad story. Investigator, well-known in the ufology field, Nick Pope, has passed away. I saw him a couple months ago when he had revealed that he had stage 4 cancer. And he's only 60 years old, and it's really sad. Somebody I would love to have interviewed. I know he had his naysayers. Some people I've had on here, whatever. This guy tried to get information out there. Some people believed he worked for the government. I don't know. I think he was generally a guy who wanted to get the information out there. Saw a little bit of it when he was Ministry of Defense in the UK, and wanted to get the information out there. And sadly, we've lost another person in the UFO field that will be dearly missed. And we need more people. We need more people to be like Nick Pope and get out there, investigate, and ask these questions and push the topic if we ever want to get down to the truth of it. So Rest in peace, Nick Pope. Very sad. I wish I would have known you. I wish I could have interviewed you. And, you provided, I think, a lot to this field. So, all right, moving on. Not to be depressing. I'm sorry. I had to cover it because it's huge in this field, losing Nick Pope. All right, moving on. And not to say that this is any less depressing, because we keep talking about this. And like I said, there is another one. There's another one besides this ninth one. I just got it before. I just saw it today, and I haven't had time to edit it. And I have it in my notes for maybe after our guest tonight. Mystery surrounds death of ninth scientist tied to U.S. secrets at a disturbing pattern grows, and that pattern has grown. There's a 10th now people are speculating about. Michael David Hicks, a researcher, scientist at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, or betterly known as JPL, passed away on July 30th, 2023 at the age of 59, but the cause of death was never made public and no record of an autopsy being performed could be found. Hicks worked at JPL from 1998 to 2022, was credited with publishing over 80 scientific papers, and was part of multiple teams helping NASA understand the physical properties of comets and asteroids. Specifically, Hicks was involved with DART, Project NASA's test to see if humans could deflect dangerous asteroids away from Earth. He has also worked on Deep Space One mission, which tested new spacecraft technology that flew by a comet in 2001. While there have been no public allegations of foul play, Hicks' case marks the ninth person with ties to American space or nuclear secrets who has died mysteriously or vanished in recent years. Maybe his death's just, he could have died of cancer and his family kept it private. I don't know. But now people are looking. Like I said, I got a 10th one here I've even gotten into. People are looking. And you know what this reminds me of, Jamie, is right before COVID, we were covering this on the show, is all the microbiologists that were going missing or mysteriously dying. This is what it eerily reminds me of. And we never got answers to that, what that was about. And then COVID happened, right? And was there a connection? I don't know. But there was a lot of these weird, deaths, just very similar, or disappearances of these microbiologists, just like there are these people within like this, an engineer.
What about the helicopter that went down, had all those cancer doctors on it on their way to that summit?
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's like, is there a connection or no? People are going to look now, so if there is some things there, and I think you're going to find some deaths of some family members eventually come out and say, hey, I don't think there was nothing mysterious, blah, blah, blah. There's going to be some people that are going to get tied up into this that had nothing, no connection probably, but people are looking now, just so you know. Whoever they are that controls these secrets or maybe are killing off these people, they're looking at you now. They're looking at every single person that worked at JPL or Lockheed Martin or any kind of big top engineer, scientist involved that's had a mysterious death or vanishes. Boy, it's on the internet's radar now. And that might be a good thing. We need it to be on the radar. No more, if this is happening, they're making people disappear or killing people, then that obviously means disclosure really isn't going to happen, right? If they're going to kill people over it. If that's what's happening, I don't know. All right, let's move on. Let's see here. That was number 3. Yeah, we're on number 4. All right, next up. And then we still have General that started this whole conversation. I just saw this. I read this article. And I almost switched it out for the other one because we've been talking about this so much, but I didn't have this information before about the 911 call that was given. And I want to read this a little bit to kind of get an understanding of how odd this guy. If there's anybody this is the one that started this all is McCaslin, and definitely you'll hear this and why it's suspect. The strangest began on February 27th when the 68-year-old left his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and vanished without a trace, with nobody having seen him at all since that time. Now details of the 911 call his wife made to report his disappearance have emerged. Perhaps the most chilling, she told the dispatcher that her husband had planned not to be found. He left his phone, he changed his clothes into I don't know what, and I think he's on foot. All of our cars and bicycles are in the garage, she said. He turned it off and left it behind, which seems kind of deliberate because he's always got his phone. He has a smartwatch, and I don't know if that's with him or not. When asked about her husband's mental health, she revealed that he had been suffering from anxiety and bouts of short-term memory loss in recent months. He was also having issues with insomnia and seemed to be experiencing general mental decline. Other than saying if his brain body keeps deteriorating, he didn't want to live like that, she said. But it seemed to me that that was just a man, I hate how this is going kind of thing, he said. According to the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, no evidence of foul play has been found. The question of where McCaslin might currently be, however, continues to remain unanswered. Back during the U.S. Air Force days, McCaslin was often associated with the UFO phenomenon. He once helped the U.S. Air Force Research Laboratory in Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio, where he managed $2.2 billion science and technology program. Now, some people are speculating, well, it sounds like maybe he went and took care of himself because his wife doesn't seem to believe that. But she seems something like he planned this or disappeared. I don't know. But memory loss, anxiety. It sounds like somebody under a lot of stress. I don't know. And I saw one of the photos of him that had been like one of the most recent photos they had of him. He looked pretty, like this is a clean general in this picture. You kind of see him there. He's like on a bicycle and kind of smiling and happy. There's another picture. He looks kind of haggard. So who knows what this guy knows or what stress he might have been under with the whole, maybe the disclosure thing possibly happening. If it's connected, we don't know. That's the problem. We have nothing. We have nothing. But like I said, the internet's looking now. It's aware. Sorry, I need my coffee. Well, they're looking at all these deaths. Like I said, I got a 10th one. Or disappearances. Anything suspicious to do with anybody that's worked for any of these agencies tied to the UFO program. And Bob Lazar, I got to see the new documentary. I I know he's got his naysayers too. People are like, oh, it never happened. I mean, I think Lazar's telling the truth, and I can't wait to see this new documentary they did. And I listened to a lot of the interview, his newest interview he did on Joe Rogan. And again, there's another person who gets a lot of naysayers, but I don't care. I find it fascinating. I think he's been telling the truth, and I think he told things before, that were not known at the time that he said. I've listened to interviews of Bob Lazar since the 90s. I'm deep into this. Like, I'm welcome to the party, pals. What I say to people are just getting into Bob Lazar when he first appeared on Joe Rogan. That, the guy's legit, I think, and we had some kind of secret program at the time. And if you hear his explanation of it, it was a crap show. It was a crap show. They compartmentalized it so much they couldn't, nobody could talk to each other to figure out how to get the thing to really do what they wanted to do or make it work. At some point they might have gotten past that, but he said at that time, in the 80s, it wasn't looking good. All right, let's move on. All right, next up. And speaking of disclosure, we have a deadline now, according to Congress. Deadline issued for UFO videos as Congress warns of a very real threat to the U.S. According to reports, lawmakers in the U.S. are pushing for imminent release of a cache of 46 classified videos of UFOs, or UAPs, many of which have been filmed by military personnel. The push is being headed up by Representative Anna Paulina Luna, chair of the Task Force on Declassification of Federal Secrets, who has given federal agencies, and Pete Hegseth in particular, a deadline of April 14th to make the videos available. The argument behind the move is that these objects might pose a threat to national security. It is believed that several of the videos depict unidentified, fast-moving objects captured on camera over war zones, often by U.S. military personnel on their international partners. The lack of disclosure regarding the very real threat posed by UAPs in and around U.S. restricted airspace is concerning, said Luna. The task force has found responses from the AARO when questioned about UAP sightings and provided data to be less than adequate. Yeah, definitely. The presence of UAPs in and around the sensitive airspace of U.S. military installation poses a threat to security of the armed forces and their readiness. Yeah, no crap. Back in March, Luna talked about the UFO files that President Trump said he would be releasing. I think they're very serious about doing it. I don't think they're ever serious about anything, honestly, but whatever. She told Jillian Michaels of Keeping It Real. As soon as we get the official on-paper declassification order, I want to do a press conference with all the information that we are told and shown. Whether we will get that aforementioned 46 videos if they do get released, however, it remains to be unclear. All of it remains to be unclear. All of it. I really am not. Again, maybe I'll be happy to eat crow like this with Artemis, and they release all of it. We get the full bang disclosure, or even a quarter of it. I'll eat some crow. I'll be happy to. Happy to. But like I said, if they're making people disappear or die, if that's happening, then don't count on it. Don't count on it. Obviously, they don't want stuff out. And if they, and 46 videos, I got them on file. Release them now, right? That should be, what are you waiting on? What are you waiting on? All right, where are we at? All right, let's get into cryptid stuff. We talked enough about aliens and UFOs. I got this one that I saw on Coast to Coast going around, too. Let me see. I'm trying to get my article to come up. God dang it. There it goes. 3 Bigfoot sightings reported in Canadian community, and there's like a whole Canadian news segment on the Coast to Coast channel you should watch. It's kind of interesting seeing what people say in this town. A Canadian community is buzzing about Bigfoot after 3 separate witnesses said they spotted the legendary creature over the course of just a few days. The possible Sasquatch flap reportedly came to light via the Bigfoot Mapping Project, which received a trio of reports from municipalities of, I'm going to butcher this, the Cahan, Kent, Ontario earlier this month. In each of those 3 cases, which occurred on successive days from April 3rd to the 5th, witnesses described seeing a black or cinnamon-colored bipedal figure standing approximately 7 or 8 feet tall. Liking the trio of reports to the recent alleged Sasquatch flap in Ohio, Bigfoot Mapping Project creator Scott Thompson marveled that the 2 spate of cases are unique in this type of activity has not been reported since the mid-'70s in this type of concentration and frequency. That said, not everyone in the community, and this is why you should watch the news segment, is convinced that the legendary cryptid is roaming around, how do you say this, Catham, Kent? A reporter dispatched to the area spoke to several people who expressed skepticism, about the sighting, with one musing, "I don't really believe it," and another declaring, "I think it's silly." The stance was echoed by Josh Redstone, a philosophy professor at Ontario Carleton University, who once taught a course on paranormal beliefs and argued that there probably is not a Sasquatch out there for anyone to go and find. Instead, he suggested that the Bigfoot being seen in the area are probably bears or hoaxers. Yeah, that's your typical lazy response. Sorry. People saw something. 3 different instances, 3 separate people saw something. Oh, it's a bear. Oh, it's that. You don't know. They don't know. We don't know what they saw. Have an open mind. I didn't like the guy at the end of the if you go watch the news subject, like I said, the links in the Coast to Coast AMR, I really didn't like their paranormal expert guy. No such thing as Bigfoot. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. I don't know if there is. I'm wearing a Bigfoot shirt. I don't know. I'm not going to stand here and say that Bigfoot is real for 100% sure. I have no idea. Never seen one. But I believe people. I believe thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Hundreds of reports, for over centuries. And you could go look at other cultures and stuff in the Himalayas and other reports. So I believe there's something to it. I believe people are experiencing something. And the lazy way that they write people off for this, I'm just not a fan of. All right, on to the last one. Sorry. A little rusty after being gone for 2 weeks. Last up tonight, this is sad and scary and interesting, all in one. And another one I got this from Coast to Coast as well. You should go watch the news segment on this if you haven't seen this. It's crazy. Mystery creature attack sends Oklahoma woman to the hospital. An Oklahoma woman needed to be rushed to the hospital after being attacked by a mystery creature that inflicted such shockingly severe injuries that authorities generally stumped as to what the animal could have been. According to a local media report, the unsettling incident occurred on March 29th in the small community of Blanco, with Alicia Maxey was visiting a home looking for work, and upon exiting her car after pulling up to the property, something seasonably sizable suddenly attacked her. An hour later, the unfortunate woman was found severely injured in a nearby yard, needing immediate medical attention and leaving authorities scratching their heads. Noting that he has been in law enforcement for nearly 40 years, Pittsburgh County Sheriff Frankie McClendon mused that, "I've never been involved or seen anything to this extent as far as injuries caused by a wild animal. Among the possible animals suspected being behind the attack are a dog, a mountain lion, or a bear." To that end, authorities are actually conducting DNA tests on samples of Maxie's clothing from the attack in hopes of clearing up the creature confusion. Meanwhile, as she recovers in the hospital, the unfortunate victim has provided some additional insights into the odd incident, which has raised eyebrows among those who in the world of high strangeness. This is what she said. "Something just pounced on her and knocked her to the ground," her sister-in-law, Kate Kelly, recalled being told. She said it was dog-like, is what she described it, but she didn't say it certainly was a dog. And there's a part that Tim Binnell, or whoever did this, left out in there, and I saw in the interview now, too. She said she heard it growl. like a deep growl, and then something pounced on her. Sadly, this story gets even sadder, though. She's still alive, as far as I last checked, and recovering in the hospital. She's had to have 4 surgeries. This is horrible. Her husband's on disability, and he's dialysis, and they have no car now. Like, the car got impounded or whatever for the investigation, I think. They don't have a car. He has no one to drive him to get his medicine that he needs. They can't work. They're like, you know how hospital bills are here in America, right? Imagine the hospital bills they got. She's looking for work. They got 2 kids, I think, at least. It's horrible. It's horrible. I feel so bad for this lady. And no matter if this is paranormal, cryptid related or not, what bad luck, what bad timing, whatever happened to her, it's so horrible and sad. And I pray for this woman. I really do. Put her in your prayers. Her name is Maxie. And my heart really goes out to them after watching the interview. It's like nobody deserves this. She didn't ask for this. She was just trying to look for work, and then and I know people are saying it dogman or whatever. We don't know. Again, another one we don't know. But it seems really odd. And I've covered a lot of these stories now over the 10 years of doing this show. The mysterious attacks and deaths. I don't ever try to make light of those. It's interesting. We're going to look at it, but these are people's lives and people were affected and horribly. And like I said, as interesting and fascinating as this is, I wish this woman and her family, pray for them that they can recover from this and that she'll recover from this, and hopefully figure out what it was. It doesn't remain a mystery for the rest of her life, because I'm sure she's going to be traumatized. I mean, anybody would. I would, to be always looking around your back after having something like this out of nowhere come and attack you. So, interesting story. If I get any updates on this one, for sure, I will bring it to the World Wide Web of Weird. But that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. Our guest tonight is Ashley Knibb. He's a UK-based paranormal investigator, explorer. We're going to have him on for an hour and then go to commercial break again and open up the phone lines for just a little bit, see who wants to call in and talk. Probably do a shorter show tonight. But we will be right back after the short commercial break.
You were brought here for one purpose: necromancy.
A ceremony dating back to the pre-Christian era. It's the art of reviving the dead. It requires involvement with evil spirits by the person performing the act.
The devil god brings life to the dead.
No, please. No, please.
And death to the living. Necromancy. Starring Orson Welles and Pamela Franklin. From Cinerama releasing. In color, rated PG, parental guidance suggested.
If you are interested in discovering the truth about the paranormal and want to hear from leading researchers in the field, join Justin Brown on his 3 weekly shows named My Paranormal Soapbox, Necromancer Live Show, and the Supernatural Symposium, live on Facebook, YouTube, and InterfaceDeath.net.
He is conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Hello, I am Fernando Martinez. I think by now you know I am an emotional kind of guy. People stop me in the street and say, Fernando, what the hell is wrong with me? Silk shirt, hairy chest, enough aftershave to drown a household pet, but I still cannot get a woman, I tell them you are an ignorant fool. Without a symbol of power and fertility around your neck, what kind of woman is going to respect you? That is why I have teamed up with Medallion Man, the shop for medallion needs. Medallion Man caters to all levels of masculinity. For the strong, silent type, a medallion the size of a hubcap will say everything that needs to be said. Even singing medallions for the Casanova, who knows music is the food of love. Model trains, dollhouses, diapers, whatever your interest, we've got a medallion for you. Don't forget, every woman knows if you can't support a medallion, you can't support a family.
This is the sound of a space clock aboard a U.S. satellite 180 miles above the Earth. No one winds up this timepiece. It's powered by a tiny battery, a battery that delivers power for years without replacement. Now the same type of battery, the Duracell battery, can bring new reliability and long life to your battery-operated equipment. Radios, cameras, toys, all run far longer. Duracell batteries, the long-distance power cells, outlast any ordinary battery. The same type of battery that keeps space clocks running for years can bring long life to anything powered by batteries. Dura, as in durable. Cell, as in power cell. The Duracell battery, made by Mallory.
Switch to DCS ranging.
240, nominal to profile.
We're in the pipe. 5 by 5.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup, our guest is Ashley Knibb. Ashley Knibb is a UK-based paranormal explorer, investigator, and researcher, member of the SPR Council and Spontaneous Case Committee, co-author of the Supernatural Synchronicity and author of the Paranormal Perspective, the Royal Oak Investigations, widely published in the field, advocate of data-driven approach using modern technologies, including generative AI, to better understand anomalous phenomena. We have him for an hour tonight, and then, like I said, we'll go to commercial break and open up the phone lines a little bit, see who wants to call and talk, and then, like I said, probably a shorter show tonight. Like I said, it's been an exhausting weekend. But I love UK explorer, paranormal investigators or explorers. I'm always jealous of them. Because when I used to be able to go paranormal investigating and all that, in America, we got some great places here. We do. But it ain't nothing compared to what I want to go see in the UK. Big castles, I am so jealous. They we got a couple 100-year-old stuff, here in America. Some stuff that may be 300 years old. You got stuff there stuff that's been standing for almost 1,000 years. at least more than 400 or 500, 600 years, some of these buildings, I would love to see the Tower of London, all these things are so, a paranormal investigator's wet dream. It's like the Disneyland for paranormal investigators. I swear it's Europe. And one day I'll get to do it, one day. But I get to live vicariously through my guests, like our guest tonight, Ashley Knibb. And we're going to talk about some of these places and his experiences. So let's go ahead and get rolling into the show. All right, all the way across the pond here. Let's see. Hopefully everything works. How you doing tonight, Ashley?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Yourself?
Doing good. Oh, let me get rid of that. Sorry. It's good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us tonight. So let's start tonight. I got into paranormal investigating because I've had a bunch of weird experiences ever since my earliest childhood memories. I know a lot of other origin stories for paranormal investigators, and they all vary. Some of them are very alike, but they all vary in differences. And some people are late comers to the show, and some people like me have been in it since they were little kids. How did it all begin for you?
Okay, so it did begin when I was a kid, probably, and not the greatest of experiences, but it was one that kind of like triggered my sort of like interest, I suppose. So I used to live in a house across a park from that was an old manor, and and basically it stood empty for a little while. So me and my friends used to obviously play in the park, all that kind of stuff, like football, soccer, and we used to
I know. As an American, I know. It's football for you. It's soccer.
It's football. Yeah. So we used to venture into the manor grounds every now. Probably shouldn't have done that. And we went across the grounds a few times. A few times I noticed like a woman in one of the windows.
Ooh.
Same woman just kind of stood there. Could have been in, and I was open-minded because my parents were pretty good at being open-minded and questioning things and all that kind of stuff. So they always sort of drilled that into us quite well. So I didn't immediately think ghosts or anything like that. I just thought, well, that's weird. Because it's supposed to be empty and all sealed off and stuff. But I also thought, it could have been someone that got in there and all that kind of stuff as well. So kind of intrigued and all that kind of stuff. But that kind of triggered the interest in the possibility, I suppose, of ghosts and spirits and all that kind of stuff, and looking into the history of things and understanding what might be there and all kind of stuff. And it also led to later on me convincing the rest of my friends that climbing through a small basement window that was open and clambering across these desks, because it was a school at one point, because the
you had to go inside. You had to.
I had to go inside. Now, this should be a great story if we got inside and kind of got upstairs and found a ghost. But actually, what happened is we got up from the basement, got to the ground floor. There was a noise, probably a mouse. And my friends decided to, they span and they went. And I was like, oh, come on.
I think that's how all of our first paranormal journey starts, is trying to go to these places with some other friends that are really not prepared. And some little noise, and they're all gone.
Yeah, that's it. They're gone. But that brought the intrigue, the understanding, and looking into things. And from that point, I kind of went more into the books and stuff like that, began reading and all that kind of stuff more. It was because that kind of triggered the possibility of something different being out there. So I was looking into ghosts, UFOs, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of it just spreads from there, doesn't it? It's kind of grows and grows and grows, and over the years, I just kind of read more and more. And then, but it didn't take. It took a lot longer before I actually done a proper investigation. So then when I've done that, the first investigation I'd done, an object moved on a table, and then I was hooked. That's it. I was done.
Yeah.
And so I've done years and years of overnight investigations, and found the SPR, found out about actual research at universities, all that kind of stuff as well. So then you begin to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and down that rabbit hole, further and further and further and further and further, until you get to the point where you're kind of just looking at all kind of different possibilities and realize that they will cross over, and it's just brilliant.
Where you go down and you just buy all the newest tech gadgets and do all that for a while, and then just realize, oh my god,
the more you learn, the
too
less
much.
you know.
Yeah. Well, it's you just go experience it. Go experience a haunting. With your, just be there for it. I like equipment. I like tech stuff. But at the same time, just going to get to see these places. I really haven't got to do it since COVID. Right after COVID, I took my family down to St. Augustine to see one of my co-hosts, Rob, that lives there. And we went to the St. Augustine Lighthouse, which I highly recommend if you're coming over to the U.S., to Florida. And I took my kids, and it was their first time going with mom and dad, who were, we used to do this stuff when we were in our 20s. And it was their best time they ever had on the whole vacation. That was their favorite part of the whole vacation. Even my wife and my son heard this woman's voice that shouldn't have been there. So they're hooked. So a family trip, when we can get time and money, is to go do this as a family. Just go experience, not equipment or anything like that. I'm a big EVP guy, though. That you had something move on you. I wish I would have had something like that right away the first time. I have had that, but for me, it was the first EVP I got, and I was hooked. And it said very clearly, "I hate you." and I'm I'm hooked. I love you. I want more. And now I have hundreds of EVP files. I got really deep into that, just finding ways to, record it, get them to respond, analyze it, all that stuff. I got deep into that for a long time.
Yeah, I love the EVP stuff for a while as well. I went kind of into that. I think we done an investigation at an old military facility in Portsmouth, I think it was. Yeah, Portsmouth. And it was an old admin building, and I was just walking around with a camera, and we thought we heard something. We went back over the video, and it was a clear, crystal clear voice. And I was kind of saying, up to that point, I was quite skeptical of EVPs because I'd never caught anything. So it was that's not real, it doesn't happen. But then I caught that, and I knew the people in the room with me, and I knew it was none of them at the time, and they all knew it was none of them at the time. Yeah, every time you try to show it to someone, they're like, "Oh, that's probably such and such." I'm like, no, "We know it wasn't us."
Yeah, but that's the thing. But that's what I think it is with EVPs. A lot of people you'll play it for, they've never experienced or been on an investigation. Like, oh, okay. But when you're there, you're the one that recorded it. You know, no one said this. This was not spoken. Nobody heard it during the live thing. Now, I've had some that we've all heard with our ears. And like, who said that? You know, but generally EVPs you don't hear with your ears. You know, and that's what I got like super hooked really early on with that.
Like
you know?
when you're all by yourself, nobody else is in there. There's no
Those two,
spill,
oh yeah.
and you don't hear anything. You know there was nothing, and then you're like listening back, and it's right in your ear, like they're just now like whispering right in your ear right now. It just sends that like excited shiver down your spine. Such a special thing.
And and like the TV shows, like I remember early on Ghost Hunters, they would like, do it. They do the show and and then they'd have the review sessions, and you'd see them sitting there. And I liked that. And I would be, whoa, they're going to get any EVPs? And some shows they didn't, right? Back in the day. Back in the day. But now, like, I don't watch any shows anymore. It's been a long time, but it's like they all are walking around with the crappiest recorder. I'm sorry, that DDR crap recorder. I know I have friends that like them. They spend like $3,000 to get one of those things. You can't even download the files off of these things. All you have is this crappy audio recording. It sounds like crap. I think people can, just your thumb moving on it can make it sound like somebody's talking. Like I like the old crystal clear, good microphones. I'm an audiophile. Let's capture it. Let's really try to like get it clear and review it. Not like be in the middle of the investigation, sit there and replay it and tell me what you think it said. Yeah, I mean, your iPhone would be better than that thing.
Yeah, because you
actually it is really good. It is really good, actually.
Yeah, no, those DVD records, I'm skeptical on those as well. Exactly the same reason you just said as well about the whole thumb moving on them. So I was going all the way back to like reel to reel to try and get that old feeling kind of thing. But people that don't know what reel to reel is, that's an old reel to reel thing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but I went through a whole tech stage where I had every piece of tech. I had CCTV systems, had movement sensors, all that kind of stuff on it. I was like, the more tech you have, the better it's going to be. But the CCTV, I rarely captured anything on it, and it ended up being more along lines of yeah.
But I have had other investigators in my group who had actually captured something really crazy when I wasn't with them. Really, really cool. Like a glowing ball of light that came up to the back door.
Oh, cool.
And they went and researched it. There's no cars or anything. I was like the only thing I've ever seen in my group that they ever captured on video. Otherwise, I spent a few years reviewing just endless dust in a CCTV. like just the glowing. Like you have other new people like, what's that dust? What's that dust? What's that dust? I've seen good footage. People have. I'm not discouraging any of you paranormal investigators. Keep recording, please. Keep using your CCTV cameras and keep spending hours reviewing it to find nothing. But you might get something because I've seen it. I've seen people get some incredible stuff. I didn't
get much of it. It turned into being understanding where we were monitoring.
On mine, living in Oakley years back, it's kind of a long story, but the bubble was bigger than the whole entire front window pane, and it like someone had just passed away. It came like out of the hedge and like went right through the house, and we saw it go from the outside through the wall into like the living room. Trippiest thing in the world.
Like I said, people get it. I just never been that lucky. Only thing I was ever lucky with was EVPs. They always wanted to talk, but I never could get them to be. They were all camera shy for me. For you, what are you doing like investigation wise? Like I mean, obviously, like I said, you live in my. I'm so jealous of UK paranormal investigators because you live in the Disneyland of paranormal when it comes to like history and like just history, like alone how old some of these buildings are. But are you doing residential as well? Like, you're part of the SPR and the spontaneous case committee, like, things like Enfield, those kind of things that could happen, like cases like that.
Yeah. So, just to raise your jealousy as well, I work in a building that's literally opposite from the Tower of London, just to annoy you.
Oh, God. That's a dream, dude, for me. I want to see the Tower of London so bad.
It's fantastic. It's an amazing building. So, I started off doing lots of like what we call like public investigations, where you go to public open places, museums, that kind of stuff, which is cool because all museums have a history of what they used to be. It's like, it might have been like a war hospital and all that kind of stuff as well. So it's all that cool kind of stuff. Done a few residentials. The book that you mentioned as well, that's on the Royal Oak. That's what I kind of call a crossover between a public location because it's a pub, but also a private location because it was also people's homes at the time as well. So it's kind of like a kind of cross between there. With the SPR and Spontaneous Cases Committee, we get numerous cases come in all throughout the year, not just the UK, throughout the world as well. They come from. So predominantly, we start those cases and talk to people probably via email and then via video call these days as well, which is quite useful. And then kind of build from there. And if the case warrants a home visit, we might visit them and do an interview in their own home and all that kind of stuff as well. An actual investigation is always right down the end of the line. If you get to the point where there's a good frequency of events that are occurring at a time and all that kind of stuff, and it's actually happening now. A lot of the stuff we get is what I call historic events. So people had something happen to them in their 20s and now they're 50 something and they're willing to talk about it and they pass that information on to us and we document it. But
it's valuable though.
It's very valuable. Yeah. Gold.
Yeah. Well, you know what I always say, and I haven't, like I said, I don't get to really haven't done paranormal investigation in several years, but when I'd have something good, like people's cabinets opening and closing and lights turning on, stuff moving, I never get a chance to get to go investigate it because they just get out. Even if they own the home, they get out. I had I did get to investigate this home. It was crazy. They had spontaneous fires, and the last one, that was it. They left their stuff. When we went there 3 years later, I could see they still had TVs, clothes, stuff they had left there. The house was completely abandoned. When this stuff gets crazy enough, if the people have the opportunity to, they go. They leave. They don't stick around. It's one of your first clues that it's real, because people it also destroys people's lives when they have to do this.
That to be fair. Yeah, no, I've heard of cases like that. I mean, oddly, the biggest case I think the world, I think you mentioned as well, the Enfield case, they couldn't leave, and they had to stay.
Right. That's what happens, and then they're in a hell situation.
Exactly, they're locked in. To be fair, but then again. In the majority of poltergeist cases, obviously spontaneous fires often lead to poltergeist cases. They're often lead a few months, and then they burn themselves out. For want of a better pun. So,
yeah, I thought that with this case, but I couldn't pinpoint anybody down from that. And we had stuff happen when we went back, and this place had been abandoned for 3 years. And I even had a great EVP. It sounded like a bird. Have you ever heard a parakeet talk? Say, burnt down, because the history of that place is that it burnt down previously and was rebuilt. Okay. And eventually it burnt down again. So
wow. History repeats itself.
Yeah, and most of all the family members are now dead.
Oh wow.
From different things. So I don't know. That was one of those cases that'll bother me for a long time. That I'll never, that's the thing. You get these cases and it's not going to be Scooby-Doo. And we're going to figure it out. We're going to have the answer to the mystery. Never. Not once.
Now, I always say you go into these kind of things and you might get, if you're lucky, and if you are very lucky, you'll get an answer to like one question, but then you'll come out at the other end of it with another 10, 20 questions as well. Yep. And then you're kind of like,
Yeah. Are you a big fan of that idea of because I have had Barry Taff on, who was like big into this back in the 70s. With the Entity case, if you're familiar with that, and they made a whole movie.
Yep.
And he really was a big proponent early on as a parapsychologist of the psychokinetic activity being centered around a person. He actually thought it was two things: a person and the environment.
Yep.
That these two things interacting, causing it. Is this something you really are a big fan of that theory?
As a person, I am. It's a difficult one because like. I am, but I'm not at the same time because usually in a poltergeist case they seem to try and focus it on a.
I hate the name poltergeist for it, by the way. I hate the name poltergeist for it. I would say, right, because it's not a ghost. We're not talking. If the theory is right, it's not a ghost.
No, definitely. The focus usually being they just discuss the focus being on a teenager, usually a teenage girl. I'm not sold on that one alone.
Women with menopause. Women with menopause too. That's another
Essentially.
one.
Obviously, terminal illnesses as well. I think pops up a couple of times as
Yeah.
well. I'm I'm more of a fan, I suppose, of like it being the source being us, definitely. But at the same time, I think it's a combination of the right circumstances that allow those things from multiple people to provide a heightened amount of kind of like
From multiple
ability.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is something along. I think with Barry Taff, you know, I loved interviewing him. I love the guy, and I think he's right on about a lot of these things. He had he's written some great material on this. But I think there's a third factor. I told him I think you're missing on this, that there is something else parasitic sometimes, I think, involved in this. Something from another realm or just outside our preview of this reality that's like interacting with us. This is from my own personal experience because I had a dark entity attack me over a 4-month period. And I think some of these cases, you know, it is an interaction from the person. It's like a person's the needle on the record, you know, basically, and this is the perfect record environment. But there's something else there. I feel like that's feeding off of their people's energy in this situation sometimes, or something that has its own intellect or consciousness to it.
Possible.
Not a ghost.
I've not had not a ghost. I've not had an experience that kind of approach, I suppose, or understand that. I mean, what I could understand, I suppose, has been boiled down. I think I could either boil down to the individuals, but I can't rule it out because I have not enough information or evidence to support whether that's possible or not. So I have to kind of go with the whole. Well, yeah, that could be. And
one of my theories on. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, and it's yeah, a lot of people prescribe to the same kind of theory as you do, something that kind of understanding. So I can't rule that out. And in that respect, you kind of have to respect the concept a bit in there as well. But which makes you have to be more open-minded, I think, as an investigator to understand those concepts as well, a possibility, even though you might be kind of thinking, pretty sure it's this, but I have to kind of take into all this into it to make sure that it's kind of like, yeah.
In the end, we don't know. You know, that's where we come down to. We just don't know. I could be wrong about everything. Every theory I have could be completely wrong, and I have to accept that. You have to accept that as a paranormal investigator. I honestly, you have to come into it as I have no effing idea. you know, like what's going on. I'm trying to understand. We're collecting data, but in the end, I couldn't. You know, they're all just theories. One of the ones I have in that sense that I've always based that on is like you've heard of in America the Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
Okay, so. And have you ever heard of the Bell Witch?
Yeah.
Okay, so well, I always compare these two for this reason. The Bell Witch started with a father and son in the field and a beast in the field. They saw. They couldn't describe it as particularly any one kind of animal, just a beast that scared them. You know, a father shot at it. And then all these, like you said, poltergeist-like activity with the Bell Witch started. Skinwalker Ranch. Father and son find a beast-like creature pulling trying to eat like one of their, I think it was a cow or something, trying to pull it over the fence. Again, it started with a beast in the field. Our most primitive reactions if I think back, you know, if we go back to our human past, you know, if there's some kind of parasitic entity in another realm that reacts to us, I call it like the Bogart in Harry Potter, if you're a Harry Potter fan.
Yeah.
You know, it comes out of the closet and it becomes your worst fear. Well, or like it in, you know, like Stephen King, you know, becomes your worst fear. There's something like this that's been interacting with us for thousands of years. Its first instinct to go back to our primitive reaction would be what? A beast, an animal, some kind of threat in the field. And I always found that both of those cases, they were very poltergeisty, you know, if you want to call it, that's a new word, were started this way. And that's what I wonder, if there is something is like a Bogart in a sense, some kind of entity that reflects our fear.
That's interesting. It's not impossible. But then you've got our concept as well, where we can always create that kind of stuff ourselves, like the Philip experiment, where they literally brought that information together, created an entity themselves, and then that began to do all the actual stuff itself. So,
that's famous.
Building on what you've just put forward, is that fair? Potentially, possibly the trigger. So it's a fear of a very real normal thing, that then becomes a trigger that allows them to become supernatural and that stuff begins to happen, rather than just a beast or some entity from a different realm. Although it could still be an entity from a different realm.
Well, my argument again to that would be this: is that those people, what was the name of that experiment where they named the ghost and everything? You were talking about it.
Yep.
They set out with,
in Toronto,
yeah, they set out with an intent to do that, right? Unlike the Bell Witch or the Skinwalker, where they were just doing their everyday crap, and then this thing happens, right? That's the difference I see in that, and that it makes me think, those locations, maybe where the Bell Witch was, I don't know, but definitely Skinwalker Ranch. There's a whole TV show related to it, right? It's something special going on there, right? A lot of different weird things going on, and whatever this is, I feel like there's something about reflecting back to this primitive time in our psyche, and its first response to us is the beast.
Yeah,
and then later it adapts and changes with our attention. I mean, look at the Pale Witch, how that changed as people gave it more attention. According to the legend, there's a lot of legend and folklore to that, the Bell Witch. I mean, it's 1800s, for God's sake. But the lore and the legend of it got stronger as more people talked and paid attention to it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, to be fair. Then you say like the things evolving and changing over time. That's probably that brings us to that could bring you to your UFOs and things like that as well. They could be more modern understandings of the same thing, more modern understandings and more fear and all that kind of stuff. Where back in time, they might have seen a light in the sky and thought it to do with some kind of god or entity or something like that, or angel. Exactly. Yeah. And now moving forward, it's now a circular disc flying through the sky, or a triangle. Or
I mean, how many times are you hearing the congressman say that mention the word interdimensional?
Yes, that's the latest one. Yeah, interdimensional, which actually makes more sense as well, more scientifically viable for traveling through space and stuff like that, rather than hopping through light years of space. You hop through a dimension and back out again. So
it'd have to be interdimensional to be here, in a sense. They're traveling interdimensionally.
Yeah, exactly. So
definitely. Yeah. I think I mean, you can as a paranormal investigator, you're set out to discover the unknown. So to me, that involves UFOs. That involves cryptids, not just ghosts. How do you feel about all these things kind of tying together?
I like the idea. I'll be honest. I love it. I mean, I think I read about the Mothman prophecies many years ago, and as soon as I read that, because that book has Keel, brilliant, loved it. I was like, you've got this situation where you've got an event that hadn't happened that is about to happen.
Super fascinated by it.
It's quality, isn't it? And then you got a cryptid that's kind of flying around town, spooking people and that kind of stuff. You've got poltergeist activity in there as well. You've got UFO encounters, because you've got UFO frap across the area as well. So you've got all that kind of happening as well, and people having encounters of the third kind, I think it was as well. They actually saw people coming out. And then you've got, on top of that as well, you've got the Men in Black kicking up as well. So it's like you've got the whole package deal going on there in one location.
You do.
So it's how can it not be connected?
I've always been fascinated with that, mainly, like I said, because I had my what I call shadow person experience, whatever, really weird experience. So one of the first things I really delved into after all that was the Mothman prophecies, because I found a lot of similarities. But again, the first encounters with this thing was a kind of beast-like thing, but it had wings and it flew. You know what I'm saying? Again, a creature threat. Something again, and then phone calls and Men in Black and it's like, could it be all one entity mirroring to us what we expect, in a sense, and feeding off our fear in that situation? Like I said, it's another great example, like Stephen King's It. Is what I think he's trying to get at, something that mirrors our fear.
That makes sense, to be fair, as well. Yeah, and when you begin to tailor into that the concepts that cover each of these concepts. So what people don't know is things like the Enfield case, for example, they focus in on the poltergeist, but there's a point in Playfair's book where he actually mentions about a UFO frap as well over London, and it's like all of a sudden it's like, when I read that line in that, I was like, and then all the other big cases, 60s and 70s, there's lots of UFO cases around the same time as well. In the same side, and even the UK across our country, you get those little.
That's so fascinating. That's so fascinating. That kind of
leakage.
Leakage. Well, that's what I've thought about it. I about these UFO flaps connected to something like Enfield and psycho. I know abductees, okay, and things they don't like to talk about, or the weird kind of paranormal things that happen in their home. It's like they're in their minds. It's already enough for people to deal with the fact that they're an abductee and trying to get that story out there. If they get into the weird shadow beings and weird paranormal stuff happening in their home, people are just going to tune them out. They already feel like they're already on thin ice trying to tell their experience. So a lot of them don't talk about it, but I have talked to several. They have like shadow person experiences like I did, and other things that would be more considered paranormal, ghostly kind of things happening in their home. So that's why, what if there's an effect from all the UFO sightings? They're seeing all these UFOs. Well, their propulsion system itself is intergalactic, interdimensional. What if it's doing something to reality? Like we pollute the air with carbon monoxide or whatever from our cars. They're polluting the dimensions with their travel, or something like that. Maybe warping things or screwing it up.
It could be. I mean, yeah, to travel interdimensionally, it could rip the fabric of space time quite slightly. That cause a slight issue with our minds in some shape or form. So it's not.
Or they're just attracted to these places that have this as already a natural place. Like Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, it could be either in the ground or anything like that. So you've got, I mean, again with UFOs are quite you've got that concept of where you've got different kind of geologies and all that kind of stuff. You have the same kind of concepts with ghosts and all that kind of theories as well, where you get better sort of. I don't even think of the word reception this time. Better reception when you've got better rocks and water nearby. And then you've got other concepts around with UFO threats, where they turn up over things like military bases, nuclear facilities, and all that kind of stuff as well. So they're obviously drawn to some kind of energy or something that's there. Or war, yeah. So
that's what I was covering in our World Wide Web of Weird. Is that our representative saying, Anna Paulina Luna is saying, hey, they're literally in the middle of a combat situation. How can you not see this as a threat to national security?
Right, in the middle of a combat.
Right. But we won't get too much into UFOs. You are mainly, especially being in the UK, you got all these great, like I said, locations, and you are doing I said, what I call residential. That's my biggest interest. I love the history. I love going. Like I said, I'd love to go to Tower of London, but I really love going in with when I used to do it to somebody who having something happening in their home. Because usually, if it's happening, they're calling. It's something happening live. And like I said, it's hard to get in there in time to catch it, because like you said, these things, they don't just keep happening. People end up living with it, don't move out. Obviously, it doesn't keep happening. They would move out. It's periodic for them. They can deal with it sometimes. Or it's, a lot of places I see, it's just periodic. Little things that happen here and there over the years, nothing major. The ones that are crazy, people get out.
And then you move in for a couple days, and they have to check you out. So they'll be all dormant and quiet maybe and not be as active as normal until they kind of get used to you a little bit and then start showing themselves. So it takes a lot to really.
What do you have a case you'd like to talk about that you think is special in a sense, that you that one of those rare times where you got in there at the right time? Things are happening.
Yeah.
I think obviously the good days to probably talk about is the one that I read the book on the Royal Oak, because that one that spanned oddly, that spanned over a decade of going backwards and forth.
Wow.
I mean, backwards and forth to the same location because I had that kind of weird interest to it. Now, the good thing about that is when I started going there, I was probably, although at the time I was like, no, I'm on the fence, I'm not a skeptic. I probably was more of a skeptic, and my approach was more of ghost hunters, taps, kind of go in, debunk it, and all that kind of stuff. I didn't have any understanding of a spiritual approach, if you want, at that point in time. I hadn't really delved into that. That then opened my mind to that, because the people there were more spiritual, and I began to understand about spiritual circles and seances and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it also led eventually to me joining the SPR and all that kind of stuff as well. So it began a bigger part of my journey as an investigator and interested in paranormal. But the location itself was, like I said before, it's like a public location because it's a small pub, but it's a small town pub. It's like a local, as we call it here, and not like a big, huge kind of pub that's got like loads and loads of space. It is about 400 odd years old. The building itself, just a pub. And it would have been originally 3 or 4 cottages that they then built into a pub. So all down the near what we call the Jurassic Coast, which is where Swanage is on the south coast of the UK. And arriving there, I think, to be fair, listening to the stories of people talking about seeing apparitions, about a curtain at the bottom of the stairs moving by itself and there was no one there, and I think glasses and things like objects moving and all that kind of stuff, pictures falling off of walls and stuff like that. I went straight into debunk mode and go, oh, well, the pictures could fall off the wall because there's a road over there and the vibrations, all this kind of stuff, and the glass moves because there's like liquid underneath it, the vibration, but it does this, and they could prove all those kind of things. And the curtain moves because there's probably some kind of draft as well. And I was all the way into that, and then I experienced a few things myself. Like I think one time I was up in what they called the twin room, and I saw like a shadow. I walked into the room and there's like this big kind of shadow thing from floor to ceiling, and I was just like, like, what is that? And there's those from all those questions I've answered, to get like there's 100 questions straight away. And it's kind of like, oh. So then you're kind of like begin to, and we got into that. I began to talk to them about the spiritual side of things, understand they used to set circle and stuff like that, and then realised that off the back of that, there was they were doing mediumship and trance mediumship and all that kind of stuff as well, and began to realise and understand a bit more about the bigger picture, the bigger story, the bigger understanding, and kept on beginning to build out from there. And the story, it was fantastic. It's good. It's a great story, and the location is amazing as well. As you begin to build out, you just pick up more and more and more stuff, and it's fascinating.
How long were the trans mediumship going on there?
A little while before I started there in 2010, I think. So probably a while before that. But the landlady herself is a spiritualist medium. Her best friend's a medium as well. So these aren't. I'm not saying these are the cause of the event. I'm just sort of thinking that they made it more susceptible to being there.
I'm a big fan. I tried to get Robin Foy on here from the Skull Project. If you've ever seen that.
Yeah, they used to talk to Robin or something.
Yeah, he was such a nice guy. I wish I could have got him on here before he passed. It was just, like you, UK, it was hard. He was getting old, and he's like, I'd love to come on, but, I was just happy to get to talk to him, message back and forth. I'm like, I'm a huge fan of it, right? But look, what they were doing, they were regularly meeting in a place, and not on a haunted place or anything, right? It wasn't haunted. But they, it's like the other experiment of creating a ghost, right? Their intent, their combined energy as mediums, trans mediums, created these events in a sense, created this opened the void or opened a portal. I don't know. But, I'm saying you do that at a place like, somewhere that's 400 years old, all this history, and you start bringing in trans mediums and doing this stuff. I think, stuff's going to kick up. In a couple of weeks, we have our friend Katrina Cooper coming on. She's a spiritual medium. She's awesome. If you're ever in the U.S. and she's touring, you're in there, you should check her out. I've been on investigations with her. I've been in a place that didn't really have anything happening. I bring her in and stuff's moving. I mean, it's happened on the show. We had a live EVP show up on this show, came into the audio for her, a caller that was her friend that called in, but it was not any of them. It was crazy. I believe she's a battery. I'm saying, somehow.
By professionals that said everything she comes up with, she's not coming up with. That's legitimate interaction she's having. Nothing's coming.
Well, her brain scan. Yeah.
Yeah, the making up section. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, she even had brain scans done. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. These people.
And he was one of the first people to kind of talk her into cold turkey doing it live.
Oh, me having her call in here? Yeah. Take callers? Yeah, she's amazing at it, though.
And it was amazing stuff she just should not know.
And I knew she'd be good at it. But that's what I'm saying. There's something about this that's a clue to the phenomena when it comes to mediums, I believe. What do you feel about this interaction when you have trans mediums?
When I started, I was skeptical. I now value them differently, I suppose, in the field, in that way, I suppose. Would I jump to using a medium straight away? Probably not. But at the same time, there's a time and a place that we come in. But the work we done at the Royal Oak, though, I think my turning point was there's a medium there called Terry, and she told me something personal about my granddad that she could not have known, and when I say not have known, I didn't know it. To the extent where I was talking to my mum about it, and I was also almost kind of passing it off, going, "Yeah, she got all this wrong and all this wrong," and my mum was like, "No, that's right. She got all that right." And I was like, "What do you mean it's right?" And I didn't know it myself. So
right. It's not her reading your mind, because other people
me. No.
I love the stretches people make when it comes when they try to like, well, it's telepathy.
Right.
Oh, so you'll buy telepathy, but you won't buy that she's talking to your grandma.
Yeah.
You know, they're both incredible.
I brought telepathy, but I was like, so that's where I kind of understand the possibility. I was like, okay, so if it is telepathy, is it a telepathy by proxy? So it's like,
right.
So, but then essentially is she talking to my grandfather there and then, which is more comforting to me because he'd passed away clearly, but very important to me. So it kind of I liked both versions. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I
believe in telepathy. I believe in telepathy. I've had my experiences with it and all that, but I don't believe what Katrina's doing or what that medium's did is the telepathy. I think they are talking to your loved one on the other side. I am a firm believer in that. I am a firm believer. Katrina's proven it to me. I've had my own experience where I was holding a picture of a dead guy and I knew his first and last name and all this other stuff. So to me, after experiencing that, it made me a believer in the possibility of it. And then I'm meeting people later like Katrina. It's just, I know it's real. I know people have this ability, and I think it's a huge part of the paranormal experiences that people are having. That, like you said, it's not just the history of the land; it's the person interacting. Because people have lived in haunted places, and they're like, I had nothing happen here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there are those people they're just immune to it. That nothing happens around them.
That's true. You get a lot of those, to be fair, as well.
Messengers.
Or they're just that oblivious to like the ghost is like throwing crap and they're just like no. I just think that there's nothing there for the ghost to use. They can't interact. Their two realities cannot interact with each other. So nothing will happen. They can live in the most haunted place and nothing will happen to that person.
We used the term battery earlier, I think, and I kind of subscribe to that a little bit. I think there's in certain circumstances you get certain individuals that provide that. They might not have any interaction or talk to or connect with it, but they just might be the right person to provide that potential possible link spiritually, I suppose, is the best way to put it. And then that kind of can help things. Maybe I don't know, because when some of the stuff that we've done at the Royal Lake involved seances, like sitting seances and all that, and having the right number of people or the right people. Some of them wouldn't do anything, but being there would help things happen, I suppose, is the best way to put it. So it's fascinating in that way. I mean, I try to lean back to the sciencey kind of possibilities, but at the same time I get dragged back in the opposite direction, kind of going, well, yeah, but what about this? And it kind of
it's because there's a big gaping hole. There's a big gaping hole in science. They're not looking at it.
Yeah. No, it's not 100%. So yeah.
And science requires you to measure things, And how do you measure this in a sense? How there's these experiences are experiences. You can only understand it if you've had it. And that's where we're left in the paranormal field. I hate to say it. I do think there's ways. I want people to go scientific and try to prove this. And I think we can. I do. I just think the biggest problem is that we don't have the tools to do it right now. I think it's possible though.
Yeah, no, measuring and understanding what science stuff is happening in the background. It's very difficult. So I mean, you then have to kind of begin to look at things like the experience itself and what people are saying and the information they're providing, and that's kind of getting into that into itself is a completely different realm, and understanding the content of the information they're providing and reading almost between the lines sometimes about how they're telling you stories about what they've experienced and that kind of stuff, and that becomes a lot of what we do in the SCC as well, looking at those kind of cases when they're coming in. So people are sharing their experiences. You can almost read the first 4 lines and goes, yeah. Although some of them you read and go, yeah, definitely. Because you could just
do you get people? Do you feel like the cases that are like Enfield where people are really in distress? There's people that look, the Catholic Church has just had a meeting with a bunch of exorcists because they feel like they're being overwhelmed with people claiming demonic influence and all these things. And this is a religious context. I had my shadow person experience. I don't put it under a religious context. Friends will call it, some of my friends say, well, it was a demon. Okay, whatever. All I know is it's something that was not very nice that messed with me really bad. But people have like these really like the entity case, like I said, my friend Barry Taff dealt with these cases of something that's not human, not a ghost, I don't think, that attaches to them and torments them. Have you run across anything like that?
Yeah, you get cases come through like that, and I've spoken to people as well outside of the SPR as well about weird things that they've experienced and stuff like that. that you try to you try to you try to pigeonhole, you try to put it in a box, but you can never quite get it into that box because it's always a little bit weird and different. That's the paranormal. But yeah, so trying to think of one off the top of my head, but I can't. I mean, you get all kinds of things from the standard stuff where people are experiencing things moving and all that kind of stuff, or they've seen something like moving around their buildings, like that. And then you get ones that are just out there. Like we've had cases of people that have had writing appear on the wall and all that kind of stuff, and that's happened in various cases across time as well. If you look back at them, so it's not unusual, but it feels like it's unusual probably to them because you don't come home from work and then finally find someone's written on your wall, do you?
I've Keith Linder. I've had Keith Linder on this show
Yeah.
several times. He was on Ghost Adventurers and all that, and they treated him horribly on that TV show. Really did, and he went through all that in his time in that place with writing on the wall, and they tried to make it look like he was faking. I really don't think he was faking. I've talked to that guy so many times now, and he went through hell. And you know, that's why I hate the TV shows. I really do. You know, because he needed help. He didn't need a TV show. You know, if you're going through something like Keith Linder or Enfield, don't get a TV show involved. Get people like him. Get real investigators.
Still studying different parts of it. Watched the new neighbors move in. Watched what color door they did. Like what changes they made.
Yeah. Oh, after he left, Keith Linder. Oh, yeah. I mean, he was obsessed because he was called a liar, and
He was called a liar. Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible.
If anything, it could have still been like kids breaking in, or maybe a setup.
Yeah, I don't think so. Honestly, don't think so.
Yeah, like cameras all over the place in that place at one point, didn't he, as well? So he was.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he was. And his tech as well, so he was looking into the best tech as well to try and capture these kind of things as well, which I know he tried as well. But then what he's talking about there is also stuff that's happened in other cases, and there's multiple cases that I've seen in the UK, but they've had writing on the wall and all that kind of stuff as well. There's a farm that had it at some point. I don't remember.
Yeah, there's multiple documented cases of it this happening in other cases, and I'm not saying that Ghost Adventures wasn't aware of that. I'm sure they're very much aware of those situations. They just weren't believing him. They weren't believing it. Like they were just I think from the get-go, not believing him or blaming his girlfriend at the time, which was horrible.
The girlfriend, yeah, because that was interesting.
But they didn't need it. He didn't need a TV show. He needed a real investigation to come in there, and sadly, it didn't happen until later. You know, he did get some people in there. I think Steve Mera was one of them too.
He was, yeah. Be honest.
Yeah, that went in there. So luckily, eventually, but it would have been great if they'd been in there earlier. You know, when it was really hot and happening, and not Ghost Adventures. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, I mean,
I got the vibe like everybody was in on it except for him. Type vibe.
Yeah. But these are the special cases. Like I said, these are the ones that could, you know, really give us insight to what's going on. That's why I asked, like, how many of these you got. You know, like Barry Taff was very hugely affected his life. The entity case, it became a movie, right? You know, like. You know, but that woman's experience was horrible. I mean, she was being violated.
Yes, that was a horrible case.
Yeah,
and unique in this case. But yeah,
but you wonder how many more people like that are living with something like that don't find somebody.
Well, there's probably quite a few that have been through potentially similar cases, but just have never spoken about it because it's embarrassing. Right. I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, we get a lot of cases come through which I call historic cases because they say, yeah, in my 20s I experienced this, but they're now 50, 60 years old and they share that information with us because they feel more comfortable doing so, or they've passed through their career, so they know it's not going to ruin their career or anything like that. So they're happy to share that now because they're retired. So it's like there's a taboo. There's always a taboo about talking about the subject as well,
especially
for many,
with
many
people's
years.
Careers. I mean, my friend Terry Lovelace is another abductee. Did not come out until after he retired. I mean, a lot of it was blocked. He was blocking it in his own mind as an abductee, but like he didn't. I don't. You know, I've seen this a lot of people. They don't really get out with these experiences sometimes until they feel their livelihood's not going to be threatened by it. That's sad.
That's true.
That's sad.
But it is sad because they can't share truths that have happened in their lives because they're through fear of ridicule and stuff like that as well. So, and it's upsetting in a way as well because it's like if there are organisations like the SBI that would take that on and look at that information and do it in a way that's not
confidentially.
Confidentially. It's not going to be put out there to like newspapers and stuff like that. Although Enfield,
like I said, don't call a TV show. Don't call the newspaper. The
the Royal Lake, they had a TV show going there. I won't mention names. And they seemed to conclude at the end of the TV show that the problem was caused by the people in the location themselves. And it would stop if they stopped doing it. But if you look at the evidence and the supporting evidence, it was there before they were there. It was the history of it. So it's like you've missed a big chunk of that straight away. So it's like if you didn't know, if they didn't dig in that deeply and didn't understand that, then they've completely misunderstood the whole case and then blame people that are basically sitting there going, "We're experiencing this. What do you think?" kind of thing. But then they've gone, "No, it's you. It's all your fault." And
it's your fault.
Completely
Blame the victim. Let's do it.
Yeah. It's completely the wrong way to deal with the case. To be fair, you should be looking at the evidence and documenting it. And if you don't know, you should be uttering those 3 words. You should be saying, "I don't know, so I'm sorry."
That's your like I said, as a paranormal investigator, that's your first step. Is I don't know.
I don't know. I'm gonna sit here with a notepad and make notes until I figure out what might be going on.
Yeah. Begin with I don't know. That's what I learned, is begin with I don't know, and you're going to end up probably still with I don't know at the end, but it's all right. Just keep going with I don't know and just keep collecting the data, because eventually one day we might figure some of this out. I don't know. I also wonder what the consequences are if we prove life after death. I don't know if you've ever seen that horrible Netflix movie of Robert Redford, what was it, Discovery? Science proves afterlife, and then everybody starts killing themselves. Horrible. But I mean, like, you think there is a day in this field that you're going to be able to actually have something that you think could prove the afterlife?
That's I don't know, because I mean the SPR has been going well over 100 years. So that was their main goal, was to look at that kind of context and stuff and understand, is there an afterlife? And it was also about debunking, charlatan mediumship and all that kind of stuff at the beginning.
I mean, it goes back to Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, I'm saying.
Well, he got duped by some girls and some fairies, but other than that, it's okay.
Yeah, I'm saying, but I'm just saying, like, prominent people have been interested and fascinated with this and trying, for, like you said, 100 years or more.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I wouldn't like to say put a date on it, but I think we're getting closer to better ways of looking at it now. I mean, like I've started looking at things where you capture the whole case, and now we can use that as data. So it's rather than just being an anecdotal story, it's now data and information that can be utilized as well. So we can begin to look at that in a different way as well, and understanding how to capture things better and more structurally helps with building better case files, so you can capture that information and then run it through, compare in a bigger picture to all the other case files and stuff.
In your bio, you mentioned generative AI. Is that kind of how are you using that?
Yeah, so I come from a tech background for a day job kind of situation, and part of what I've been looking into through that job is generative AI, using it in the workplace. But I know people veer away from it, and there's some conspiracy concepts around it as well. Yeah, I can see a much better understanding and use of it in things like case files. So I've started creating case
correlation.
Files. Yeah, so you create certain setups so you capture information correctly. So you're still taking the story and the anecdotal information, and then you put it into different methods, so you're structuring it in a better way. And then generative AI can then look at that and go, okay, and then you can put it into bigger tables and understanding and all that kind of stuff, and then it can compare the whole lot. So you can begin to compare 5 cases, 10 cases, 100 cases, 1,000 cases. And as you build it over time, then you'll get to that point you're talking about, because it'll be able to look at that kind of information, that big data, and look at things that we can't look at in a bigger picture and kind of go, well, yeah, did you know that there's a pattern of the way these things happen? And then
it doesn't come back and say the answer is 42. But
it probably will, yeah.
Yeah. But I when I saw that, I was really interested in it, because I do think we have to have something like that that's correlating the data. Like, I am a big naysayer against, like, the AI push of some things, but I do think anything in science or technology advancements can be used for good or bad. And I am interested in, you could use AI to correlate this data, find a correlate. I'm a Star Trek fan, man. And what would they do? They go to the computer and say, give it a bunch of data, and do you see a pattern here? And the computer would come back with something, right? Not data even, he can do all this stuff. He'd go to the computer, the big Starship computer, and tell them. So that's AI, that's what they're using in Star Trek, and I'm all for that. We can use these things for good. It's just that there's a problem. There's psychopaths that are building these things, and it's not good.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I've been using like an agent within ChatGPT that I've been building and adding
Like
certain
Sam
correlations
Altman
to
from
it.
ChatGPT is a psychopath, but I get why you're using his ChatGPT. It works.
It's an easy option, but there's other ones out there.
Yeah.
But you can put guidelines in there that then refine it down to stop it going off on its own. Because the thing that I did learn was, which really threw me a little bit, was that AI hallucinates, and people don't get this. And the term itself is a weird one itself, but it's like if you chuck it a load of information, say tell us about this kind of thing, but you don't put good guidelines around it or prompt it correctly, it'll go, well, what they really want is me to say this, so it'll get fake information. And in part of the stuff that we learned that some lawyers done this, and they got a load of citations come through that they took to court, and then they got fined thousands of pounds because basically these citations are just made up by AI. It's just like, oh, okay. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, there's a guest I had on who's like, what's his name? I just had him on a few weeks ago or a month ago. Who's using it? I'm sorry, it's late at night. My brain's slipping, but he's using it for physics, like like figure out anti-gravity, and he's like a big proponent of it, and he thinks he's about, really like figuring out like the super relativity is his theory he's got, and it's all from working with AI to do it. So, I mean, like I said, they're all tools. So, I know you only have this hour, so before you go, I want you to be able to give out your information to the audience, where they can find you or reach you, or what you want, like where your books are at and all that.
Okay, yeah, so the best place is probably to find me on my website, which is ashleynibb.com. As my name is, no spaces, and then .com. On there, you've got a section for my books in there. That's my latest books in there. So all the links in there for the US Amazon, UK Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all those places that you can get books from. They're all the links are on there for that sort of thing. I'm on social media on X, although I still want to call it Twitter, and Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok now, much to my dismay, because I hate that.
I'm not on TikTok. Yeah, I know. Me neither. Well, thank you, Ashley, for being on the show. I'm also jealous of my UK friends right now because one of my favorite shows is Ghosts UK, and they're making a movie, and they're only going to play it over in UK. I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait to see that damn movie, but I love the TV show. They got an American version. It's good, but it's nowhere good as the British one. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. Thank you so much, Ashley, for being on the show. Keep in touch, and go check out Ashley Knibb. We're going to go to commercial break, come back, and then when we come back, we'll open the phone lines. I had somebody trying to call in earlier. I wasn't taking calls right now, but we will open the lines when we come back. Wait till after the commercial break. We'll take a couple phone calls tonight and probably end the show a little earlier, but we will be right back after this short commercial break.
Conducting an experiment into the combined effects of sensory deprivation and hallucinatory drugs. The subject of the experiment is himself, and the experiment is out of control. Ken Russell's Altered States, a film that must not be missed, is in the West End now. Altered States, Certificate X.
Do you wish for more paranormal and spiritual content? The Paranormal Chronicles magazine is a free digital magazine crammed with the very best in paranormal and spiritual articles and features. No sign-up, no subscription, just free reading and knowledge for you. Read today at www.paranormalchronicles.com/magazine.
Join us every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time for Weird Wednesday, the live stream, with your hosts Jamie, the Living Dead Girl, and Rob, the Phantom, where we'll talk about all things paranormal, including zodiac, astrology, tarot card and oracle card readings, live ghost boxing and spirit communication, where we'll do Voices from Beyond, the Cold Case Files. So we hope you join us live on Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at midnight Eastern Standard Time. We hope to see you there. Bye-bye.
Paranation Magazine is a new paranormal magazine based out of Denver, Colorado. Our goal isn't just to give you the best paranormal content out there, but to promote paranormal unity. We're doing this by giving everyone an opportunity to tell their stories and to share their experiences. For more information, follow us on Facebook at Paranation Magazine and soon, paranationmag.com.
I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is the extraordinary travels of a young, alone, and broke psychic in the highly anticipated new book from internationally renowned psychic, medium, medical intuitive, and best-selling author Sherry Dillard. Critics have described I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like as an engrossing memoir, an empowering story of how a broken girl came to accept her psychic gift, a refreshing and fun read. I've Never Met a Dead Person I Didn't Like is available through Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Wrote Spirits of the Dead with a pen dipped in warm blood. You will see the ultimate in terror with this important all-star cast. Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda in Edgar Allan Poe's Spirits of the Dead. Only Poe's demented genius could bring to the screen such horror and evil. Spirits of the Dead stars Brigitte Bardot, Alain Delon, Jane Fonda, Terence Stamp, and Peter Fonda. Directed by three masters of the cinema, Federico Fellini, Louis Malle, and Roger Vadim. Spirits of the Dead is an adventure in terror beyond your wildest nightmares. Spirits of the Dead in color is rated R.
The answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is "42. Yes, I thought it over quite thoroughly. It is, it's 42. It would have been simpler, of course, to have known what the actual question was.
But it was the question. The ultimate question. Of everything.
That's not a question. Only when you know the question will you know what the answer means.
You're listening to Paranormal Soup, bringing you the weird every Sunday night. Call into the show and join the discussion. The call-in lines are 219-230-4444 or 260-225-9419 or by Skype caller ID jblandoo or jblandparanormalsoup. And now to your host, Jason Bland.
Tonight we had Ashley Knibb on. I think he's still in the panel. Maybe he'll hang out with us for a little bit for some phone calls. We'll see. But if you want to call in, talk about your paranormal experiences, that's what the open lines are. And next Sunday, I don't have a guest, so it'll be open lines then, too, and extended World Wide Web of Weird, because I had extra stuff. Like I said, there's a 10th now scientists that they're going back to enlisting. I bet by next Sunday it'll be an 11th. Like I said, the internet is watching to the people in the UFO, the they or them, that their pronouns, I don't know, that cover all this up. People are looking. If you're making people disappear or die, the internet's looking. We want to talk about that tonight or whatever. We're going to, like I said, do a shorter show. Let's go ahead and get on back into it. All right, we're back. You sticking around with us, Ashley? Oh, we unmute you. Hold on.
Oh. Yeah, I'll hang out for a little while. I'm up there anyway.
All right, let me sure the phone lines are open. Somebody was trying to call in while you were on. And then while we're doing the first hour, people are new to the show. I don't do phone calls until after that first hour and a half. And then we open up the lines. But I always want at least an hour to talk to my guests before I let you guys start talking to them. And somebody is calling. Oh, I got him. Should be, I think this is Captain Dan. Oh, wrong button. So hold on, Captain. I got to get used to this. I have a different phone line There you are. Now you're on air, Captain. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for
You
calling
and
in, bud.
Jamie. Jamie's missing. Anyway, well, a couple of things. You were talking earlier about Bob Lazar, and I don't know if it's the new special you're talking about, but I had heard he got like a 3D video artist to do.
Yeah, that's the new one.
To do like the ship and
Yeah.
VR
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything, so you could look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he approved everything.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think's kind of cool.
Yeah, me too. And it wasn't like they just let AI do all the work. The director wanted to make this very clear. He's like, we had 10% of like AI generated stuff going on, but most of this was handcrafted art done by CGI people who worked with Bob Lazar on recreating every little detail he could remember, which I think that's why I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, and I'd like to see more artists out there, just taking people's cases and listening to them and put it together either on paper or video or however they want to do it,
I mean, one of the things I thought was interesting he talked about in the interview, I haven't seen the documentary yet, is there's this thing that comes down from the ceiling of the UFO. He called it like it's not a kaleidoscope in a sense. He said you could move it, you could push it up, this like tube thing. You could push it up, but it never got bigger. Like you could push it up, it just went into itself without actually being like a kaleidoscope where it'd have to get bigger as you pushed it up. The material just literally melds into itself without getting any bigger, which is unexplainable, right?
Yeah, and I heard him talking about the lighting inside of it too, how they had all these lights on the inside, but the walls absorbed it, so it wasn't,
Yeah, things like that.
It only had like directed light. Yeah. I don't know. Pretty cool. But,
yeah, I can't wait to watch
it.
it.
Talking a lot of, yeah, it's gonna be cool. But you and Ashley there were talking a lot about poltergeisty stuff. I thought I'd share one story.
Yeah.
As you talked about too, people don't like to bring these up, but for you, I'll bring one up. And I don't know if you've heard it before or not, but you were talking about writing appearing on things.
Yeah.
Almost magically. And I've seen plenty of that.
Really?
When I was 18.
Oh yeah. I remember now.
And we got caught up in some stuff. Yeah. But one experience that it scared the F out of me. It's it was just so unreal. But I was taking a shower, hot shower. My parents, the glass sliding doors, had the glass sliding doors, and I was sitting there watching, and I heard the squeaking sound, against the glass. I turned around and I see it just getting written there in real time.
Oh no!
Just written there. Yeah, and
what was being written?
In real big letters, it said, "Dan, you die," and a few quotation marks at the end.
I remember.
And all I could do was, I was like frozen, and all I could do was stare at it.
You were 18.
As the shower went on, the condensation, so it started to drip down, like the water drips. And, that's a tough one to bring up there because it was just so.
Was this after some of the Ouija board stuff?
Yeah, that and a few other things we had tried. Yes.
Yeah, usually, you're right.
I mean, we did auto writing and all that stuff.
You opened the doorway, Dan. That's.
Oh yeah. We got exactly what we was looking for.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's the pentagrams on the car window. I go in a place and the windows were fogged up completely, and sometimes those windows would be filled with, dye and pentagrams and hearts. A lot of hearts.
Hearts, even like this. Wow. So you get pentagrams,
Sometimes the hearts
didan,
had
and
an upside
hearts.
down cross in them. Yeah.
And the heart would have an upside down cross in it.
Yeah, some of them would.
Wow.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you
But I
mean
had a
Keith
lot
Linder
of
was
these.
getting 666 on his walls. You know, some of this stuff. That's why people don't believe it. They're like, well, that's cliche. What spirit's really writing 666? But like I said, there's something about this that it's. I'm not saying it came from you, Dan. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is,
I mean,
I'm not saying it came from you, Dan. I'm just saying that somehow it takes something from our perspective and reflects it back. So your expectation of evil is a pentagram, maybe, you know, or something in your mind that it's drawing upon, you know.
yeah, it's
the categories.
Another experiment I ran too, because you know I was doing a lot of art back then and stuff. So I set out one of my sketchbooks on my dresser. I put a pencil on top of it, and I stood there, you know, and I kind of got a little, you know, crazy with it. You know, who the f are you, and what, what do you know? I was pretty desperate by now, but I was still curious and experimental. It kind of drug me in. You know, I'd like to say it's progressive entrance. There, it, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Kind of progressive attachment of some sort. Yeah, I try to figure this stuff out through the years, and it still affects me every day, like how I move around, and you know.
No, I
I
get
will
it.
think about it every day.
Yeah.
Did you have any? Another, you know, I left that sketch pad out, and when I woke up the next morning, because it was a mechanical pencil, all the lead had been ejected out and broken into little tiny pieces, and like all the little, you know.
Maybe didn't like mechanical pencils, because I sure as heck don't. Maybe it's like, give me
and
a pen,
on the
Angle.
page it said,
what did it say?
And like, you know, like you or me writing, it said I am, and then at the bottom it had this really ornate writing, you know, that said the name, you know. I ain't gonna repeat it.
Right.
But it was so ornate, like old English style, like a lot of time was spent with it, you know, like literally is, yeah. So yeah, that got me too. Well, there's a lot of things that did. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
That's why we're here on your show. So.
Well, thank you for calling and sharing. Did you have any questions for Ashley at all? I know you didn't know if he was going to be on.
Curious. Yeah, I was just more curious about, you know, the physical stuff like that. I guess, you know, the stories of maybe inanimate things moving, or.
Well, you've seen that. Go ahead, Ashley.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff. I mean, there's different theories and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, your story experiences, do sound interesting. I'm guessing all these happened when you was a lot younger, as you mentioned about being 18 and stuff like that. And if you haven't shared them with an organisation, I mean, maybe reach out to the SPR, because we'd document stuff like that and take it on board, and that'd be really good to have. To be fair, so that's I'd probably say that's at spr.ac.uk website, and then there's an experiences form in there, and we'd pick a case. I'd pick a case like that up, and I'd certainly start communicating with someone, like, even if someone in America. We do have members as well that are in America as well. So
that's a good idea, Dan.
It's good to get that documented, that kind of stuff.
You should because you can compare.
You know,
they can compare it to other people. Well, yeah, but you had this experience. They could compare it to other people. I know you aren't going through it anymore, but what happened to you is, again, like what happened to me with my shadow person. I was only 18 too, and I found out so much more about it in a sense by getting it out there and writing it down, which I know you've been writing, Dan, and doing that's great. But sharing it also is great because they can compare it to other people's cases, and that's the important part. That's what we're doing here. So you should definitely look into that, Dan. Thank you for calling in tonight, bud.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, I will check that out because that's what I do is research too. So
Yeah,
I'll
it's the
definitely
way to
check
do
that
it.
out.
All right, Dan, thanks for calling in, bud.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right, we got somebody else on the line. Let me take that. Who do we got? You're on the air. Make sure mute me in the background.
Hi.
Hey, is it Mike?
Yeah, how you doing tonight?
Hey, Mike. How's it doing, man? Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, I got two. I'll ask him a question, but I was gonna drop the bomb on you. You'll never believe this. This is bigger than, I don't know, like Barack Obama is the Antichrist or
what?
But
Come on,
the thing is, I was gonna say, I'm collecting unemployment for a while now, but my bi-weekly amount. I heard you guys say something on the show here, like about 4 or 5 minutes ago, about 666.
Oh, we're talking. I was talking about that being. Oh, dear God.
That's the amount of my bi-weekly pay.
Is it?
666.
Oh, boy.
That's huge, man. And I'm telling you what, you got to watch your back, okay? Because the stuff gets real. All right, I'm not screwing around with this. But
I think
you
you're
can
saying...
go ahead and let them comment on what I just said.
Oh,
okay?
I think you should take your checks.
I was going to bring up. Zach Bagans. And does he know anything about that guy? Is it all just sensational?
No.
And
hey, Mike, I have
everything else.
Mike, I got a kind of a rule on this show. We don't want to. You'll hear me joke about Zach Bagans, but we're not gonna bring Ashley bringing up. We don't want to. We don't know Zach Bagans. I don't think Ashley knows Zach Bagans. Do you? He goes like this. We don't want to bad talk somebody.
I'm not friends with Zach Bagans. I've seen a lot of his work, as many of us have. But and I think I've even written a blog post on my website about what was the Devil House or whatever it was that he done. That show.
Oh, well, that's not far from me. Yes, I know about that. My friend Barry Taft that I told you about. He was in that documentary. He was the parapsychologist they brought in.
Yeah, so I think I wrote a bit about that previously, but yeah, and also know him off the back of the Dillinger case as well. So, which is the Washington poltergeist at one point, I think. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So other than that, yeah, I'd probably best not go into the
Mike. One of the ones too. I mean, I sit here. I've said things about the Warrens. Now, people get pissed about that. I'm saying, but I'm just being honest about. It's a critique on what they did. And their contribution to the field's greatly appreciated. But I have some critiques about how they did things in the past, and maybe weren't so great. Those are fine.
Uh-huh.
But you got, so you heard him on Zach Bagans. You got anything else you wanted to ask him, Mike?
Yeah, my phone comes in and out, so
okay. With
this line.
I was just asking if you had any other questions for him.
No, that's all for tonight. So that being said, keep the faith.
Yeah.
Huh?
Keep
How about that?
You take your checks. They're fine. It's just 666. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're fine. It's not the mark of the beast. You can get the help you need.
Yeah.
You get off your feet. You need that money. Everybody needs money, man. It's hard times.
Okay. Have a
they
good
give me a
evening.
check for 666. I want to take it. Have a good night, Mike. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we can joke. I joke on Zach Bagans and stuff on this show and all that, but I don't know him. He could be a nice guy. I don't know that case that was near. I know some people that were involved in that, and like I said, I also know Barry Taft that was involved. That was crazy. He really did end up like in the hospital after. that. And Barry Taff, you ever look into Barry Taff, he's not just a parapsychologist. He is an experiencer since his earliest memories. That guy had x-ray vision as a child. I'm not joking. He has crazy experiences. So he's somebody got into it because he was like me, he had experiences, and he's very sensitive to energies. Very sensitive. That's why he got really into the idea of these areas having an effect on people, because it has an effect on him. And that case made him like really ill. And then look what happened to Zach Baggins. His actual visions and eyes were messed up, supposedly, from it.
But we don't make fun of those things. Like the stuff we make fun of is like the stuff he makes fun of, the stuff TMZ. It might be like something silly, like, oh, look what Zach did this time, and it's like all in good fun, but we don't.
Yeah, nothing against the guy though.
Yeah, we don't tear people down and.
Unless they're Hami Musan in the UFO field. I've been told he's a super nice guy. I'm sure he's a super nice guy, but I have so many critiques and issues with the stuff that guy presents. So I'll admit I have torn some people down. I don't have any dislike for Hami Musan except for his work. Because I don't know. I cannot the stuff that comes out of there, the Peruvian mummies, the Roswell alien in the glass case that turned out to be a mummy, an actual mummy, stuff like that. I will critique people. I will. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. That's Dan. Captain Dan was just on for a $10 super chat. You can help this show by becoming a channel member or doing super chats like Dan just did. Thank you so much. It helps pay the bills that grow, sadly, for this show. Thank you so much, Dan. But anybody else calling in, we're not going to go too much later tonight. Like I said, next week's going to be probably more open lines. I'm working on trying to get guests. It's been hard. I'm trying to find people, that want to come on like Ashley here and talk about their paranormal experiences even. Like Dan, we want to get Dan on. Yeah, they just donated Captain Dan. If you hear about his experiences and stuff, he calls in as a caller. We're trying to get him on. I just only have one phone line now, and Dan wants to do it by phone. I'm like, you got to come on StreamYard, turn your camera off, and then we can take phone calls. So if you want to be a guest on this show, someone as a guest, I really need him to come on StreamYard because the phone line only is 4 callers. So Dan, I'm going to get you on StreamYard. That's what we're going to do. We'll just turn your camera off.
Yeah, you can
It's
turn
easy.
your camera on.
You can do it right from your phone and just no camera.
It'll just look like this. Wait.
Yeah. Because Dan's got all kinds of stuff. I mean, that dude's got a lot to talk about. So we're going to have to get Dan on here. And he's going to have to, Dan, you're going to have to come on StreamYard, damn it. He's giving me money because he wants me to get a new phone line. That's not the issue. It's something messed up in the system. I got to figure out, and I still haven't. It got screwed up with some update. But thank you for the $10, though. I do need a new computer. I do. Any other phone calls, guys? Because we're going to call it a night here if we don't. Here soon.
Oh, Drake's
Anybody else
been
want to call?
on Paranormal Roundtable a couple times.
Oh, Drake, too, said something earlier I wanted to address. What did Drake say? There's something I forgot to star it. I saw Drake said something. What was it? I forgot. You mentioned Drake, and I forgot he said something. Oh, yeah. What do you think about this one? I'm really interested in the Estes method. Have you experimented with that at all?
Yeah. So the Estes method, obviously we all know the Estes method. But it really dates back to other methods that have been there the whole time in EVP. To be fair,
true.
It's great. It's great for TV because it's happening live and that kind of stuff, and you're listening and all that kind of stuff, the back and forth, and that's what TV wants. But I always had issues with it in the sense that often you'd have people that sat there like me with headphones, saying that they can't hear anything in the environment, and I've sat there with people they've got like noise cancelling earphones that goes, let me try that, and I've sat there and I can hear people around me.
You can hear people. I see. That's what I think about. I'm not saying that people are all finding the best headphones and not hear anything, but I got pretty good ears, and that's what I wondered about it too. Is like how much they might hear through it. I've never done it. I can't say. I've always been interested in it. It is interesting to watch, and I am fascinated by it because I do think if you blindfold somebody and give them white noise, right? Or be it the SB7 white noise,
Yeah.
it's like scrying. You know what I'm saying? Like, you give the mind an opportunity to open up to maybe a communication pathway with something. You know, like an altered state. You know.
It's fundamentally it's fundamentally a combination of EVP and the Gansfeld experiment. So basically, you're creating sensory deprivation, and then you're focusing the sound aspect of that on the SB7 aspect of it. So it's kind of drawing down on bits and pieces like that. Like I said, it's interesting in the live moment, but when you begin to look at it from an expert, kind of like sitting back a little bit, you look at the questions and stuff like that, you can still see duration. So like people could say certain things, and people could say, "Oh, that's the answer to the question," but in reality, they're fitting the answer to the question, opposed to it being the real thing in some cases. So it's like,
it's interesting.
My skeptic mind comes out a lot on that one.
I love the movie Altered States and Stranger Things. I'd love to put a whole sensory deprivation tank inside a really haunted location and put a little 11 in there and let them go. Not me. No, actually, I would do it.
Times, and I thought that looked awesome.
I've always wanted to do a sensory deprivation tank, you know, to test that out.
A little bit like, ooh, but it looked awesome.
There's actually research being done into that. So the University of Northampton in the UK, there's got like a good parapsychology area. So Dr. Calcu, but also a member of the SPR. I think he's done some research into sensory deprivation tanks and stuff like that. So kind of using the same kind of concept. So it's being done. So real
I know
research,
it has. It's
real
been
university,
doing.
so it's cool.
I mean, Altered States, man. That was one of my. People are like, "How do you like that movie?" I do, and I watched it as a kid, which is very inappropriate. There's very inappropriate scenes, but I somehow watched that as a kid and was fascinated. I remember watching it with my cousin and his wife, and they're like, "Why do you like this movie?" Somehow in my child mind, I totally understood the idea of exploring the consciousness, you know, and the sensory deprivation tank. Ever since my childhood. Now I've never gotten to do it, you know. I always wanted to do it, but it also goes to one of my theories about reality in a sense of consciousness is that if you take away all the inputs, what does the mind do? It creates its own reality. It creates its different characters. Like when you dream, you have people in your dreams. They're you. That's your consciousness talking back to you, right? Maybe, or is it spirits? I don't know. But either way, what the brain does when the inputs are shut off, it goes into creation mode. And I think that's what consciousness is, the first consciousness, what it did, it split into two. It made two of itself because it doesn't want to be alone. That's what consciousness does. I think it's the nature of reality in a sense, or a clue to it at least, or 42. I don't know.
I think it's cool. The whole consciousness thing is part and parcel of the whole big picture, the whole problem, if you like, of paranormal and understanding it. It's
well, look at the DMT.
It's here.
Well, look at the DMT elves that people all see. Like people have like a similar experience under DMT. How does a chemical make somebody have a similar hallucinogenic experience in a sense of actual detailed things like beings that they would? Why? Like we were talking about one drug. It wasn't DMT. It was something else that made people see little people, and it's been known for hundreds of years that if you take this, you're going to see little people. How does that happen? How did?
I mean, that's science in a way, isn't it? Because it's just recurring. If it's doing the same thing over and over and over again, that's your best.
Like carpet gnomes or something. Carpet fairies or carpet gnomes.
Yeah, I forgot what it was. We were talking about it on the show, or I had it in an article from the World Wide Web of Weird. But that that it's just the idea that people have these experiences under hallucinogenic it should be a chemical reaction in the brain. People should be just having what kind of trips they have. There shouldn't be a shared experience.
But with the synthetics, you notice we can always tell when a cop pulls somebody over that's on those synthetics, and the way they behave, they have the same mannerisms where they bark, they look like zombies, and they
get naked and jump through a window like that one footage we saw. Oh my god!
Or they take bites out of like their living dog. Take bites out of their
the guy
arm,
eating the guy's face.
Those are all commonalities.
Well, that you get into the darker realms. They say when you do drugs, you open yourself up to if you talk to an exorcist or somebody in the field of believing of demonic possession, their answer right away to that's going to be, well, when you do drugs, especially drugs like these that are very super powerful, you open yourself up for demonic infestation, and that these are manifestations of the demonic happening in people. That would be their perspective on it. Maybe they're right. I don't know. But there is some similarities between the way people acted on Flocka and these synthetic drugs we covered over the
And anything
last several
ever
years.
has happened. Like this is just extremely crazy.
Yeah. Well, hey, Ashley, I want to thank you for being on. I am going to end the show early because I got to be up early for kids in school, and this weekend kicked my butt. I tell you what. They had this play they were doing. It was based on the Jack Black movie Bernie. This guy wrote a whole musical for it. My God. But my youngest son was... Well, Dean and Liam and Susan. So Liam was a stage manager, and Susan was a stage manager. So they're getting all the set stuff and putting it out. And Liam waves at me from... I'm like, dude, you're a stagehand. You're not supposed to wave at people. I found out he did it every time he came out. He waved. I'm like, oh. And Dean took on the tradition of his father and was the sound guy.
Oh yeah.
Because in this family, none of us are actors. It was our friends that were actors in this play. My son needed. Proud of my oldest son. I'll mention a show made Honor Society, and he did this for volunteer work. So it was all part of that. But this weekend drained everybody, and I wasn't even in the damn play. I just went to watch, and I'm drained from it all. But thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you, Ashley, for being on the show. Keep in touch. We'll be back next Sunday, open lines. We'll have more you want to call in. Well, next Sunday will be open lines. Talk about your paranormal experiences. That's what I want. I want to hear your experiences, be it UFO, cryptid, alien, ghost, whatever. It doesn't fall in any category. You have no idea what you encountered, like I did with my shadow person experience. I won't quantify as one thing or another. I'd love to hear from you. That's my favorite part about doing this show, is hearing from you guys like Dan tonight or Mike. Call in next week. Open lines. We'll do the show. Extended Worldwide Web of Weird as well, probably. We'll probably have enough weird by next Sunday. I definitely had enough for tonight. I could have kept going, but I am beat. So sorry, guys. We will be back next Sunday. Same bad time, same bad channel. 10 p.m. Central, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Check us out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Thank you to all of our super chatters. Thank you to our Patreon, and thank you to our YouTube channel members. You do help pay the bills. Keep supporting the show by sharing it out. Just telling people about the show is the biggest help. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. See you next Sunday.